Am I audible, sir?
Okay, fine. Okay, sir. Please.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Very good afternoon once again to all the participants. So we are in the second session of day 4 on this 1 week online FDP on development of entrepreneurship and managerial skills. So today we have with us Mr. Shailesh Wagmare. He is co-founder and director. So he has a vast experience of 20 years of impacting organizations through strategic decisions across merger and acquisitions, credit rating, equity funding, financial services, management consultancy, MSME advisory, ITES, and marketing advisory. He has also led a team of 200 and more members, additional international experience of leading assignments and business in Australia, Africa, and UAE. So his educational background is he has completed his BSc in electronics and he holds PG diploma in industrial instrumentation and information technology. Also, he is an MBA graduate in marketing and financial management in 1998. So, Mr. Shailesh Wagmare, sir, on behalf of Government Polytechnic Hingoli, we are very glad to have you today. And he would be participants who would be delivering the session on entrepreneurship funding, finding out the right investor, how to select, what are the strategies, and sell out. Once again, I welcome you, sir, on behalf of Government Polytechnic Hingoli. To let you know, sir, the participants are faculties and academicians from different polytechnic institutes as well as engineering colleges from Maharashtra.
Yeah.
And AICT and IST have sponsored this program, and we, Government Polytechnic Hingoli, are the organizers, and we have made available this platform for everyone to attend this online FDP. So we would be glad to have your session, sir. And once again, I welcome you on this platform.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you are good to proceed.
Okay. I would like to say present a slide.
Yes, sir. You can present now.
Yeah. Just a minute. I'm just trying to share my screen.
Sure, sir.
So, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. So, good afternoon, participant. Yeah. I'm audible?
Yes, sir, you are very much audible and your screen is visible as well.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for inviting us for speaking on the particular entrepreneurship funds, sell out, and strategies for the business. So the entire session divided into two parts. First, we will be speaking on what is entrepreneurship. You might have earlier speaker also might have spoke on this. If you feel it is too much repetitive, just raise a hand and let us know. Okay. And second session will be on the journey of an entrepreneur, how that journey can happen and how to move further into that. And then it will be followed by what are the options of uh, capital investment into the business. And we will also speak about on the sell out and other strategies for business growth. So we'll start now. So just a brief on entrepreneurship, understand the concept of entrepreneurship. So a successful entrepreneurship is a person who has a characteristic and skill which is needed for the growth of the business. Okay. So what is entrepreneur? An individual who can undertake the risk associated with creating, organizing, and owning a business. So please understand, entrepreneur and the business are two different things. Entrepreneur is the engine for running the business. He or she is not the business. Business is an organization. Now, what are the characteristics if you look for the entrepreneurship, particularly for entrepreneur? The entrepreneur should be persistent. So whatever they are doing, they should keep on doing that till the time they achieve the result, whatever they are expecting. It should not happen that the entrepreneur who has started something within next 2 months, 3 months, or says in a shorter time, change the plan on frequent basis. That is, then entrepreneurs should be creative. They should create a solution which will really impact the lives of the people. Okay, so then that will be more important. Responsible towards their journey, towards their customer, towards their staff, towards the society. Then they should be inquisitive. Then entrepreneurs should be goal oriented. There should be a goal always for any task which has to be done, and should have independent opinion, because whenever you are starting something new, there may be so many people which you find that they are giving their opinion, and your decision may impact. Okay, so in entrepreneurship, consult with everyone, but they should have their independent opinion based on their expertise, based on the knowledge, and self-confident. That is more important, because in a journey of entrepreneur, it's a tough journey. So there are occasions wherein the entrepreneur confidence goes down, they feel demotivated. That should not happen, because entrepreneur, whoever is running the organization, is the fatherly figure, and that person has to take care of entire thing. And the last but it's very important is a risk taker. The person should have a characteristics of taking a risk. This should be the calculated risk. It should not be a daredevil thing. What are the skills needed? It's a communication skill, human relationship skill, because business is done with the people. So human relationship skills are very important, like managing the employees, managing the vendors, managing the suppliers, managing the client, managing the service providers, everyone. Mathematics, basic mathematical skills are required to be an entrepreneur. It is not necessary that you should be master in maths. Okay. And the problem solving and decision making skills are very important, because on the entrepreneur's journey, there will be a lot of problems coming on day to day basis, short term, long term, and everything. And every problem will need a decision to resolve that. And once you are an entrepreneur, you cannot look on to somebody else for solving a problem or taking a decision. So you should have a decision making skills and technical skills about your product, services, whatever you want to do. The entrepreneur should have the technical competence of that, because that will drive the business. And basic business skills which are required to be an entrepreneur. It is not necessary that a businessman should be a MBA finance or MBA marketing. It is not required, but basic business skills should be available. Now there is a difference between entrepreneurship and entrepreneur. So entrepreneurship is the process of starting and running one own business, which requires lot of risk, lot of commitment, lot of hardship. And entrepreneur is an individual who take all these risks. So unless and until there is an entrepreneur, there will not be entrepreneurship. Okay, so both are interlinked, but these two are separate things. Now, what are the steps in the entrepreneurial process? So these are 5 steps: discovery, concept development, resourcing, actualizing, and harvesting. So we will have a small discussion on each of the things. Discovery. In this
So
phase,
let me Hello. Actually, your
Yes.
slides and your voice are not matching. Are you explaining with slides? Because still it is your title slide.
Again, a title slide is only shown because, but I am, let me see. I will stop sharing.
Okay, okay. I'm thinking you are explaining through slides.
Yeah. So I will again start present now. Entire screen. So is it my screen is visible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. But
Now
it will
five
be
steps of entrepreneurial process.
Yes, sir.
sir, it will be good to us if you play the slides in presentation mode.
Yes, yes, I will put it now. Is it visible
Yeah,
now?
thank you, thank you.
Yes,
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
yes.
Okay. So there are five steps: discovery, concept development, resourcing, actualization, and harvesting. So discovery is the phase wherein an entrepreneur is or an individual, based on their hobbies, skills, or a passion, think of doing something new, innovative, and which will be useful for the community. The community will turn into customer in future. But again, they work on that. Then again, you also discover what are the, once you decided that you want to do something, then the in discovery phase, the entrepreneur also has need to look at what are the consumer needs and what are their wants. So need analysis, whatever we call it. So it should not happen that my hobby, my skill, or my passion is doesn't have any demand in the market or any scope in the market, or people don't want that. And to understand that, the person has to conduct a survey questionnaire. There are a lot of techniques, okay, but I am just telling you the basics things into this. So in surveys also there are secondary surveys, primary surveys, sampling surveys, lot of things are there, but these are basic things. And then you study the demographic. Demographic study is required for business expansion, business setting, because you cannot float a company which is providing global services at one go without doing a sampling or without doing a proof of concept or something. Okay. So this is the discovery phase wherein a person or an individual who has some aspiration to start something on the own, and that person discovers what is that they will be providing as a service or as a product to the market, which will be beneficial for the communities also. Once the discovery phase is done, then there is a concept development phase. Okay. So the entrepreneur has to prepare on the concept development. Now, concept development, say product development is one thing wherein you would be developing a product. But again, you have to develop a concept for your business also. So that will cover a business plan, describing what is your idea, how it will impact the people, what is the market scope of that, whether people will be buying this or not, what are the revenue model, and other thing. And then during the business plan, you will also select the location where you want to start your business, whether it's a physical location or you want to go on only online, other thing. What are the various combinations of services you would be providing? What are the revenue generating mechanism into that? Okay. And is you will also on the concept development stage only, you will also think on whether this idea or concepts or a product can be patented or trademarked. Okay. So accordingly, this is the only concept thing level you will be working on to them. Once the concept is ready, that is business plan is ready, everything is ready, then third steps comes to resourcing. Okay. Wherein you will identify the resources. Resources means financial resources, human resources, capital resources needed to start the venture. Say venture is a new thing. when something you're venturing out. So that way it's called a venture startup, or you can start a venture also, or you can say a startup also. Parallelly, you also need to find out resources which can give you the investment. Okay. This investment may be in any form. You can look for financial assistance, grants, loans, and parallelly in resourcing, you will need to start hiring the people. Say you may not hire all the team at one go, but you will at least keep resources ready with you wherever if needed, you can deploy them immediately. Now after this is an actualization. Okay, so wherein you will actually start a business. Okay, all these activity which we are doing, those are back end activities, or in technology which will get, we have in any of the program we have front end and back end. Okay, so whatever till now we did it the back end processes. Unless and until we have a very strong back end, the front end will not be effective or will not deliver the desired result. So when we say actualization, so this will be opening a business, starting day-to-day operations, forming a company, okay, getting resources on the board and all these things. So this will be the actualization phase. Fifth is, once this actualization is done, business starting day-to-day operation and other thing, and you are doing now. Okay. So business has started running now. It is running on the own, wheel started moving. After that, there is a harvesting stage, wherein अभी मतलब फसल तैयार है उसको हार्वेस्ट करना है मतलब फसल काटनी है अभी for or monetizing or growing the business. So here we can think on the harvesting wherein what are the future plans, what is the development, how to go ahead, is there any need of changing the structure of the organization, is there anything wherein required in a constitution change, does the organization have sufficient fund to grow, is there any stagnancy coming, what are the reasons for stagnation, now how to come out of all these things. So these are the 5 steps wherein we should go for a business. So I have covered the basics things generally. If we have any specific queries, we can address that during our question answer session on specific things. Because of time limitation and restrictions, I am not giving much impact on the entrepreneurship because I believe some other guests might have spoken into the detail. But from business perspective, I'm just speaking onto this. So then there is just starting a business. Now, how to start a business? So we already discussed we have to develop a business plan, acquire finances, and meet the legal requirement. So these are the broader aspects of starting a business as such. Now, what are the aspects of developing a business plan? Okay, because business plan is very key aspects which will also impact the investors. Okay, that is the first document which investor will look into it for detailed understanding, including lenders also. So business plan is used for obtaining finances, help organize and analyze data critical to new business, provide startup proposals. What are the components of business plan if you look at that way? So these are the standard things. Based on the business model, your business plan can change. But if you look at the broader perspective, there could be executive summary, product service plan, management team plan, who will be the key persons into the management, what will be the involvement of the promoters or the shareholders into the business. All these things should come. Then industry and market analysis that should cover competition, industry, demography, every data, including the market sizing also. Then it will be followed by the operational plan. How the business will be operationalized, what are the things will be important for operation of the business. Then there will be an organization plan. It is easier for a new person to understand because whatever is in the mind of an entrepreneur, it is necessary to represent that to the outer world. Then only they can understand. So in organization plan, you should consider management philosophy of the business, key management personnel, key employee policies, because this will be the you can see the foundation for the business. Then there should be a marketing plan, how we will approach the market, what are the revenue models we'll be working on, how marketing will happen, what are the promotional plan, what are the budgets required for that, and then there will be a growth plan. Normally, you should develop a business plan for at least 5 years minimum, but it is better if you can look at the future and make a 10-year business plan. Currently, in current scenario, due to changes, rapid changes in the business scenario, people are making 5 to 7 years business plan to keep up with the pace. Then financial plan. So financial plan should be made on basis on the financial modeling. Okay. So that is very specialized job, specific job, and these activities like making a marketing plan, making a financial plan, the businessman or the entrepreneur should take help of the competent person who can forecast the future financial health of the business. They can advise on the various models which are available based on your industry requirement and the business needs. Then now, as we are speaking on the investment aspect, so there is a basic about financing a business. So there are various ways wherein you can start as a layman. If I don't have any knowledge about finance or anything, but yes, I can borrow or take money from my friends and family. I can speak with other businessmen into my community or into my locality and tell them about my business plan. They can give me money. Okay. So that way you can have, or you can have employees who will be, you can take them as a shareholders also giving some stake into the company. They can also invest onto this. Then there are, you can take loan, grants or financial assistance from various banks or other institutions which are available. You will also need to look at the legal environment for your business. If there are any permits, any certification licenses are required, the entrepreneur should get all those licenses in place to avoid any future complications or future impact onto the business. Whatever contract you would be signing with any of the person, be it a vendor, supplier, client, or even an investor or a bank or anyone, you should get those contract vetted from the competent person so that you will not have any surprises in the longer run of your business. And if there are any area specific laws like industrial, residential, other things cannot be carried out, so you should look at all that aspects also in the start of the business only. You should also look at the tax implications of the based on the law of land, and accordingly you should prepare yourself onto this. Then you should also look at how you can protect your business by registering yourself a trademark or a patent or copyright thing, because in the beginning we think that these things are not required, but once we grow and market started looking at you, then competition or the business rivalry or any other thing or the duplication or all other things happen. So every entrepreneur should look at all these things into this. Okay. So these are the basics about entrepreneurship journey, how a new venture can be started, what are the basic things which is needed to take care of all these things. Now next session, this will be a detailed session now about the equity funding or the business environment. And our co-director, Mr. Arun Joshi, who has more than 24 years of experience into equity funding, supporting the business, getting investment. He has done more than 240 deals as on date and raised more than $5 billion of rupees for various businesses. So he will be speaking on the technical aspects of all these things.
Can I see the platform or something? How do I see the? Okay. They have to share some question. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me know if I am audible to all of you. will there be another voice from that side which will just give me comfort that somebody is there and is listening?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, we are
So, I'll be interacting with you, and uh, I would like you to interrupt me in between and let me know what people are asking, saying, etc. Because I'm not able to see any chat window here. Okay.
Participants, if there are any question, meanwhile you can put it in chat box so that the speaker can see and answer them in meanwhile.
Okay. See, a business is a pretty complicated stuff, and if you want to have a bird's eye view of a business, then I hope you are able to see my highlighter as well. There are three types of total functions. A business, whatever the size, smaller or bigger, has around 30 departments in it. They might be actual departments or for very large companies, or they might be very small departments or single person handling 10 departments in very small companies. So you can see here that there is something called technical functions or technical departments. This is the core of a company. Here, this project department is something when you set up the factory. Then the certifications is when you take the required legal licenses and permits and certifications and authorizations, etc., from the government as well as private institutions. Then you develop the suppliers, procure, get the material in, you process that, manufacture goods. You then maintain the equipment. Then you have a quality management department so that your products are compliant to the quality standards of the product. Then you have marketing, business development, and sales team to access the clients and sell your goods to them at a reasonable profit. You may be using the distribution channel. And then you also might be in research development to keep with the pace of the time. So for most of the SME businessmen, business is nothing more than the compilation of the technical functions, and just make, produce, and set up a factory, produce, sell with visibility of profit, and that is the end of it. For them, these corporate functions and its support functions, they are cost centers, liabilities, or maybe redundant, or some torturers sent by the government or something like that. And they don't have good comfort with these departments, and they don't think that these departments are also required in the company. But that's not so. I mean, the importance, obviously the technical functions are the central part of the business, but the business also needs the corporate functions, which means there could be a group of companies, and how the companies in the group are related, what is the legal nature of the company, who constitutes the board of director, who are the strategic alliances, what are the risks to the company, what is the, and for all these departments on the technical side and support side, they need to be working together to achieve a certain goal. So there has a strategic department which at operational levels puts all the departments together. So you can see that most of the top management is involved in the corporate functions, and as a part and parcel of the business, we have to have all these departments which support the corporate activities and technical activities of the company with like admin, HR, IT. Any question on this?
Participants, feel free to ask any questions in between.
Yeah. So let me move to the next slide. Our SME businessmen remain ever small. Ever small means they always remain small company. Logically, a company should grow to a small company, then medium company, then a MSME listed company, then uh, small cap company, then mid cap company, then mega cap company, then blue chip company, and then multinational company, then multinational diversified company, then multinational diversified conglomerate. So if your company is alive for say 60, 70 years, it should logically become something like Unilever. But and even if you have not spent 17 years in your company, or just spent 10 or 15 years, at least you must be moving in that direction. But we see that, like, some random PSU stocks, our companies, small companies, are moving up and down, and there is no consistent growth path. That is because the focus of the management is on these fields: compliance, regulation, technical, non-consulting, these kind of things, and their focus is not on growth, financial excellence, corporate development, and operational excellence. So growth is that management decides to grow to a certain level and works on that, has an action plan. Financial excellence means it takes money at a lower rate and uses it very efficiently without wasting it. Corporate development means the members, the shareholders, the board of directors, these key stakeholders, lenders, they do not quarrel with each other, and there are no cases and all that. They function smoothly. Operational excellence means your quality and rejection is less, quality is good, etc. So you can see that in India, around 16% businesses close every year in 12 months. So if I have 100 businesses in India, on 1st April, out of those 100, 16 businesses are completely closed on 31st March of the next year. That is proportional loss of the capital expense of the country. And there are several reasons why these failures happen. Most of the times, the highly educated people working in big companies and passed from ITs and IIM think that the SME people do not know how to run the company. So they think that the companies don't know the operations, how to produce and how to sell. But that's not the reality. If you interact with the owners of the SMEs, you'll find that they are excellent. They can beat the directors of big companies when it comes to the technical competence. They do every 2 years one engineering in how the operations happen in the company, and they know in and out. They solve all the shop floor problems. If the company is standing for 15 years there, then the owner of the company or the management of the company is able to solve any type of problem in their own company or in their supplier's company or their client's company. On technical side, whenever it comes to the finance related matters, for our SMEs, bank is the end of the world. If the bank is not able to give money, then there is no money in the world. And they just don't know how to raise money. So their times may be good, may be bad. Our typically Indian SME owners, they do not know how to raise money, how to use money, how to approach the right people to raise money. And then there are other reasons like politics in the office, a lot of friction in the management. And these things ultimately lead to the financial distress for the company at the top level. Now you can see that as Shailesh has told me that all of you are professors in technical colleges. Am I right, Shailesh? So I can tell you that, there is a lot of, if you look at the jobs and all, there is no certainty of the job and the career as it was in the older times when the individual used to retire in the company and then used to have pension. And after him, even his wife used to have pension. Now, one can be sacked any time for absolutely no fault of himself, and probably even if the company is doing good. So you should choose to become a businessman. Why? Because when you are a businessman, you get a salary as a director, you get corporate benefits, you get company's car to come to office, You get personal benefits. Company may give you bungalow to live. Your company will give you dividend when they distribute the profits. Then the whatever money is retained in the company and which is not distributed to the owners, or the owner word is not correct in terms of private limited company. One should say shareholders. Nobody is owner of a private limited company. But let me take that freedom. The owners get the balance company money left in the company is used as the it adds to the, suppose you earn 100 rupees and distribute 50 rupees as dividend. The balance 50 rupees is left in the company, and the value of the company and hence the value of your share rises by that proportion. Then you feel self-satisfaction as a businessman, because it's tough to be a successful businessman. Then many people recognize you for your contribution to the economy and society. So even though you might be making a 10 rupee profit on a 200 rupee revenue, your contribution to the GDP is 200. So you are an important person for the nation. And then when you retire, or when you are no more, even if your next generation is not interested in the business, or they can't do business, then if you have made a proper company which functions like a going entity, doesn't stop, a company that runs on the processes, independent of any person, then that company will be paying dividend to your any number of future generations. And then the company always has, I mean, the market always keeps on throwing open opportunities. The company has always, if under a able leadership, opportunity to grow into a multinational diversified conglomerate. So there are just so many benefits of being a businessman if business is done properly. And if you do not do business properly, then probably you will lose whatever money you have earned in 15 years. Then whatever money you have taken as salary over these years, you will lose the business assets, you will lose your personal assets, maybe you will lose your ancestral assets, and maybe you will have civil and criminal cases for recovery. I would encourage the people to let me know their comfort with my speed, my narration, and I would like people to ask me questions, and I would like to answer a question. The feeling of connect with the audience makes you feel good, and I would invite a couple of questions from you people. Now, see that the SME industry has a huge contribution to the economy of India, and the scenario is same in all the countries across the world. They have a huge contribution to the GDP of the country. They manufacture a lot of things. They export nearly half of the country's exports can be attributed to them. And they get what we call in Marathi Savatra Bhavachi Vagnuk. When it comes to treatment from the governments, the banks, the multinational agencies, and all that.
Can we discuss more the reasons of closure of business?
Pardon? On what?
You have just spoken about the causes of closing of business. Can we discuss a little more about it?
Yeah, see, actually, when you say a business, when you become a businessman, you do you simultaneously do courses. If you are open for learning, you need not open the books and start learning hard way. You become a chartered accountant, MBA finance, MBA strategy, MBA marketing, a company secretary, a lawyer, an engineer, a banker. Gradually you become, you get doses on that. So business legally is not a legal term. There is nothing called business. And there is something called private limited company, and by its legal definition, it has no last date. And it's very difficult to close a business. So if you do all the things wrong, I mean, every business makes mistakes, and every business has an ability to absorb the cost of errors. Now, if the cost of errors in your business is low, or at par with the industry average, you will remain, because everybody has those costs of errors. But you make some big major errors, then you will be defaulting in your obligations towards the others. So at least, so in that case, it is possible that you yourself might declare uh, bankruptcy. I have no money, insolvency. It is possible that your lender or your creditor will take you to court and ask them to liquidate your business, or maybe a competitor or any other person interested in the company will buy your company at a lower value and give you some peanuts, and start owning the company that point onwards. It is possible that the company's management might be uh, it might be alleged that the management itself has led to the fall of the company, and then there might be civil and criminal cases against them. For example, the use of the foreign currency, etc., has very stringent laws in India. The non-payment of the government dues has stringent laws. The compliance of the labor acts, like the Minimum Wages Act, has very stringent laws in India. And forget you paying the minimum wages as per the law. Even if your supplier doesn't pay, as the principal employer of the contractor, the chairman of your company or the MD of your company might be jailed. So doing business in India is not all that easy, but then it is not all that difficult as well. There is, if you do the business abroad, you will get only 2-3% margin. If you do business in India, you might get even 25% margin. So there is equal incentive as well. So I hope that answers the question. Let us not go into how a business is closed. That is not the purpose of this session. What my point on this slide was that a business can, if done properly, can make you Bill Gates. And if you don't do the business properly, then you can take the name whatever you want to take, a completely doomed person financially. Okay. So let's move here. You have seen this. Then you can, when you take money for the company, there are various choices for taking the money and the format in which the money is given. Something that you should understand that there are two terms and two perspectives. When you talk of the financing of the business, there are two perspectives: perspective of money taker and perspective of the money giver. Let me not use any complicated word. I just don't know your profile, so let me, or your background in finance. So let me keep it very simple. The money taker is the business, and you can see that whatever money the savers in the economy save, they gave it to the financial institutions like LIC, fixed deposit banks, mutual funds, and whatnot. But these people don't have any ultimate utility of money. LIC क्या एक खड्डा भी नहीं खोदती पूरे साल में. So what do they have to do with that money? They have to give it to some business, and if not to the business, then they have to give it to the buyer of the business. So there are all these money givers and then money takers. So these are the two perspectives, and there are two terms in the process of giving and taking money. One is the return and the other is risk. The return means, suppose, the revenue and profit are entirely different words. They depict the effectiveness of the operations of the company. We are talking about the perspective of the investor. So if I put 100 rupees in the business, and then next year the company generates for me as a shareholder 10 more rupees, and my capital becomes 110, then it is said that I have earned 10% return on equity. So in the profit loss statement, you will see for the same company, a revenue of 500 rupees and maybe profit of 50, 80 rupees, whatever. So those are very indirectly linked. But as the owner of business, I am supposed to look how much money I have put in the business from my pocket and at what point of time, how much money it is giving. So you can compare a business with a bank deposit. In a bank deposit, the money is fixed at a particular point of time, and the repayments are in the form of interest are very regular. That's not the case with the business. So they are very irregular. So since you are professors, probably you can convert mathematically an ununiform odd even flow of capital into a flow which looks like a fixed deposit. You can make it effectively like a fixed deposit. So even as an investor, you can look at a business as a fixed deposit. It's as simple as that, and the return on investment will be equivalent to the interest rate. So there are several types of instruments, and there are several types of aspects of giving. So if we begin with from the perspective of the investor, then the safest type of way of giving money is giving very less money to a very reputed and established person by taking 500 rupees of security for 100 rupees of loan at very high interest rate, in which through a contract in which all the terms and conditions are in the favor of the lender, and a contract that can be enforced by law if the borrower is not paying in time, and it is giving so many rights to the lender to take possession of so many things, and maybe also taking the bank guarantees and personal guarantees, and hypothecating taking security of the personal property of the businessman. So see, why there is company, that is because when you will always read that in front of the company it is limited, it is written private limited. The word private means it is a private affair of some select people. So the government cannot come to us and say, why are you disturbing the public harmony? That is why the word private is there. And limited means even if these private people do something, let me say something wrong, and that causes a huge nuksan, loss to the society at large, or the industry, or whoever stakeholder, then they cannot take money more than the equity capital from the business. Their liability is limited. That is why the word limited is written. So even if your business goes off, nothing will happen, nothing should really happen to your personal property. But this principle is completely flouted by the Indian banks, and they ask our poor SME business owner to give their own flat, their personal guarantee of the future income, friends' flats, friends' guarantees, etc., completely wiping out the business of the advantage of being a private limited company. And this is where probably you can educate your businessman friend. Now, there are from among the various ways of availing money, the instrument that I told with so many things was the safest for the investor and riskiest for the borrower. On the other hand, equity is the safest for the word borrower is not correct, the shareholder, and riskiest for the money giver. So what happens? There are many instruments in between. So there would be secured loan, unsecured loan, senior loan. Then there could be convertible loan, mixed loan, preference share, and a wide variety of instruments. So many derivatives. And there are so many aspects of each of these instruments. We will come to them later. So when it comes from the perspective of the investor, equity is the highest risk instrument, and the loan, second loan, is the lowest risk. So the thing is that at a particular there is appetite of the investors at the different degrees of how much money they want to give to whom, and there is one basic thing that when a business wants to raise money, and if they are taking the money from very wise people, then the government generally doesn't come in. They say that you are wise, they are wise, do whatever you want to do. But if a business wants to take money from common people who are uninitiated, uneducated, unoriented in the field of financing and investment, then it is the natural duty of the government to take their care. So the bank loans are not bank's money. It is the money of the gullible depositor who just doesn't know anything about the business world and investment world and the economic world. So there are a lot many laws about how much money the bank can give to whom, how, under what terms, and etc., etc., etc. So it is most likely that you have a very brilliant idea, you are a person of very good character, completely dependable, you are a thoroughly studied person. So there is no logic, I mean, there is no problem that if you talk to a person of good understanding and camaraderie, the person will just give you all this money and say, friend, no problem, you just do this business. But you make the same conversation to the banker, he'll say, okay, I mean, I appreciate your business even much more than the other guy has appreciated. And I know you are a person of very good character. Your idea is good. Your qualifications are good. But then I can't give you money because this is not my own money. So equity infusion becomes, playable. It becomes, it comes into picture when the institutional money stops coming to you. Now, every person who is in the field of business need not have formal education in finance, but he or she must have very good clarity of basic concepts. And the basic, if you look at how a business gets financed, so the first money is your own money, which is called bootstrapping or seed money or promoters capital, etc. Then you have other people giving you money, say as interest free loan or interest bearing loan. Then the banks give you money. So there are so many types of loans. So that is called debt. And so many varieties of things in which there is some kind of principal, interest, etc. is called loan or debt. Then there is something called grant. Grant means government gives you money for a good reason, and that is not to be paid back, nor any interest or return is to be given on that. Then there is something called gift. Then gift is something like, I mean, if I give you some gift, then government may ask me or you to pay some tax. But then gift is also something, it is entirely different venue of money. Then there is something called scheme, exemption, concession. So it is not giving you money, but making the life easier. So that is as good as a positive cash flow for a business. Suppose tomorrow the government declares that you will not pay any tax, or you will pay only half tax. So that is as good as a positive cash flow for your business. Then there is something called in-kind, contribution, which means you are not given money in any way, but someone is giving 1 ton of steel to you. And it is just giving to you just like that without any invoice and all that. So these are all ways. Let us just forget all those. When you combine all them, then they are called mixed instruments. And if any of these instruments changes its form from now, in the future point of time, from one to another, for example, a debt becoming an equity, then it is called convertible. So just remember these words: equity, debt, gift, concession, in-kind money, grant, mixed, and convertible. These are all these sources for your money. Now, out of these, equity and debt are the most important, and you must know thoroughly the difference between the two. I hope you can see the term guaranteed return here. So when somebody gives you loan, the word loan is a little different. The original word is debt. So let me call it debt. When someone gives you debt, then you have to say to that person in the writing that I will give you on this 100 rupees per period or per annum 10 rupees extra, and this is my guarantee, and if I don't fulfill my guarantee, then you can auction my flat. That is called guaranteed return. Remember that the fundamental difference between debt and equity is a return, and this guarantee is enforceable by around 3 to 4 acts and so many authorities and tribunals of the government. So the moment you sign a debt contract, you are bound by just so many terms. On the other hand, in equity, suppose you equity funding of 100 rupees to me in my company today, and in lieu of that, I give you 10 shares. I already say 1,000 shares of me in my company. I give you 10 shares, and tomorrow I say this Apohan is not Apohan doesn't want to work. We are insincere people. Then you cannot go to any court. You cannot take me, Arun Joshi, as an individual. You cannot take me as a founder, MD, to the court. You cannot take me as a share of the company to the court. You cannot take me or my company to the court because you have made an equity investment. So you might be finding that equity is really very interesting because it is abundant in as much quantity. You can see some words on this. It is as much possible. There is guarantee required, no security, and the repayment schedule can be flexible. They can wait for a pretty long time. Their investment horizon is also very long. So many good things about the equity. So all these good things make one bad thing about the equity, that equity will be given only to the qualified and good people. Any questions so far? Hello? Hello?
Participants, if there are any questions, you can please feel free to ask.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I would like each one of you to note the email suggestion and raise whatever logical queries that you have in your mind to us at the end of the session. Okay, I mean, it is too much to tell. It's not possible to narrate everything in such a short period of time. So this is the life cycle of the enterprise and then the IRR that they can give. Then we can see, by risk capital, which means the capital that is as far as possible from the safest loan. So there is a new regime called an alternate investment regime. and the funds are called alternate investment funds. You have to note one thing, that in the finance world, there are certain words that have specific legal meaning, and there are certain words that have generic meaning. So the word fund is a generic word, and the legal nature of the fund could be a trust, could be a private limited, or could be any other form. And alternate investment funds are those funds in which whom we call the angel investors, venture capitalists, and private equity funds, and hedge funds, and sovereign funds, and funds of funds, and so many varieties of funds. Let me tell you one thing, that when the businesses or the people earn a lot of money, then the traditional investment avenues have very poor return. I mean, you might read in newspaper that Bharti Airtel has given this much return in this particular year, but that return is average return for all the investors since the inception of the company. If you look at the last person who has invested in the company by buying a share of Bharti Airtel, then it is possible that the stock has fallen 30% from where he has bought. And his personal investment, his personal return might be negative. That is hidden when you produce the aggregate data. So that creates a pressure on all these people who are putting money in the loans. And in India, still the loans get decent interest, though the trend is downward now. In foreign countries, the interest rate is abysmal. So there is a pressure on them to retain the relevance of their value. So there is an investment strategy which is directed only towards retaining the value of money they have in the pocket. The other strategy is growing the money. And to fulfill these objectives, various regimes have come, and the SEBI and RBI together regulate the alternative investment funds. And there is formation of hundreds of funds in India, and they give a lot of money. So equity process is lengthy, cumbersome. I told you there are just so many advantages of getting equity, and that itself is a big disadvantage itself, because if it is so advantageous to the business, then the investor will give the equity funding only after sufficient due diligence, investigation, study, confidence, and so many things, which requires a lot of study and time. So when it comes to an equity funding deal, there are two parties, an investor and a business. So the investor looks at this vintage or legacy of the business, the size of the business, the ticket size of requirement, which is the industry, which is the market, what is the location, what is the legal nature of the company, what is the growth rate, what are the financial, etc., etc. So that are called investor considerations in their investments. Now, there is something very important about timing of an equity funding deal. When your going is good, you can see when your going is good, then the value of business is much higher than the going is bad or going is stable. So when you are rising, expanding, and your profits are growing, etc., then you get better valuation. And logically, if your management has ability to grow the business even furthermore, and if there are no internal funds, internal accruals to fund that growth, which the management can very much deliver. Suppose you are doing 100 crore revenue, but then you can very much do 600 crore revenue. No problem at all. You know how to do it. You have been in the business for 10-15 years. But to do 600 crore business, you probably need a factory of 250 crore rupees and a working capital of another 100 crore rupees. And it is impossible that in your whole lifespan, your existing business will give you extra money of 350 crore. So forget that new factory. In this particular case, when you have business confidence and all the abilities, you should go for equity funding. Typically, you shouldn't go for business equity, new rapid expansion. Many of the Indian businesses get doomed because they start after 10 years they get overconfident or whatever. I mean that confidence is not overconfidence when you look at it from the technical perspective. They are right. They can make and they can sell that much. They also have that much market, but they do under planning and all that. And so when they start, they under budget for the completion, testing, commissioning, and working capital. And then they realize that they have asked less money to the bank and they have made less provisions. So they divert the capital, which is daily coming from the existing operations, to the new business. And after some time, it happens that the money is not sufficient either to start the new factory or to run the old factory, and everything is lost. We have hundreds and thousands of such cases in India where the businessman is not able to plan growth. The SME businessman very much knows how to start a business from zero, to grow it gradually, and to take it to a nice level in a systematic, gradual manner. But he just doesn't know how to do a rapid expansion. And there he invariably fails because he doesn't have a sound management to advise him on all these things. So understand that growth financing should be typically done with equity, where if you are still short of money, the equity guy already has a lot of money, so he can put in the money, and you will not become non-performing asset, NPA, on that. All that distress will not be there. Another thing is that once a business becomes non-performing, making loss, etc., then gradually what happens in the business, if the management is not able to do the business properly, efficiently, etc., for whatever reasons, there could be two reasons: that you don't know how to business, or second, that you know how to do business, but then you are not having sufficient money to do business. It is not that the money is required only at the beginning of the business. It is required even in between in the business, and the businessman finds that he is not able to find all that money at that point of time. So then the business starts, falling gradually. So gradually their operating, the net profit becomes zero. Then profit before tax becomes zero. Then your operating profits become zero. Then it starts taking money from the capital of the company, and then if you find the buyer in the right time, then he can give you good value, but otherwise then it is sold at the value of scrap. So if there is a businessman who has the confidence that my current situation might not be good for whatever reasons now, but you give me 100 rupees and I'll get good return on my past investment as well as this new 100. That is called equity funding in financial distress. Understand that the banks will never give a penny of loan to these distressed companies, but equity people will give. Then there are introvert businesses that also go into equity funding, which means that they don't have any strategic policy or systemic policy. They are neither. But if they find that we do this particular business activity and we will like to have one more business in the allied activity, and it is very difficult to build it from the scratch, so why not pick up that business? So that is called introvert business. So these are the two things I told, that getting out of financial distress, you can have equity funding, and for there is third case, that you are stagnant business. Just you can grow, but you don't have sufficient money to grow sufficiently, so you can come out of that. This is the equity funding process. Understand that the bargaining power of the equity investor is only till before he transfer money to you. There is absolutely no bargaining power after the money is paid to the business. So he goes through a big process in analyzing the business, in this thing. So you can see that the business doesn't have, I mean, our SMEs don't have a professional board of directors, a department of strategy, a department of finance, a department of corporate management, a department of contracts, and a department of transactions. The business is made for routine operations, and this is the strategic transactions that occur only once in a while in the life of the business. So they must hire quality consultants. They must know what is the scope of consultant, what are its deliverables, etc. So that itself is a very important task. Then there is an inception report. One must understand what is the objective of the business, what is required to be done, how much money is required, where, in what phases it is required, what are the applications of the money, how much money will be required by the business before the money from the investor comes in. Are we having that sufficient stock of money? Do we want to mobilize that money? What type of investors we want to join our hand so that the board is harmonious? See, the M&A deal or the equity funding deal or any deal fails in three ways. That you are a capable business who can, on your technical strength can take your business to 1,000 crore, but your current revenue is only 50 crore rupees, and your internal accruals are only 2-3 crore per annum. So you will always sleep with the dream of 1,000 crore and never reach there. So a deal that should happen but doesn't happen ever, because the person logically should be able to mobilize all the money required for 100 crore business, is not able to acquire because he either doesn't know what is the process, who is the consultant, whatever. That is called first failure. The second failure is that you get the outsider in with whatever money required, but then the old people and new people quarrel with each other. That happens because you do not design an investment contract properly. Nobody knows what are the aspects of a transactions, and so there are so many people coming together in so many ways. So for your particular business, there is nothing that is so new that will happen that has not happened in the corporate history of around 300 years. So you have to write down what is visible, what is coming, and what is not even what generally happens. If you do that, then your failure level 2 will not happen. And then the third failure is you came together basically to make the business a 100 crore business, but 10 years have gone and that is not happening. That is failure level 3. So you have to understand all those things at the inception level. Then you have to identify the investor. Now understand that when it comes to the equity funding, identifying an investor is not a big thing. Generally, people say that, I have very good talent, I have very good idea, I have very good capability, connection, network, everything, but I don't have money. And you think that you are not having money is a really big problem in the world, and you are the person living with a really big problem. But that's not so. There is a bigger problem than that. At least you are a person who is capable of using 1,000 crore rupees or churning 1,000 crore rupees and make a huge money out of that. You are a capable person. Look at the person who has 200 rupees and no such capability. So his money is declining in its value every 6%, and probably you will put your capability somewhere, and if not 1,000, you will have 100 crore rupees. But this guy's whatever 200, 300 crore capital will gradually lose the value, and if he has put in ill-studied place, then maybe he will lose it even quicker. So not having money to do business is not the biggest problem. Not having money, not having business to put money in is the big problem. So if you are able to represent your business properly to anyone, then you can get as much investment. Money is the last hurdle in implementation of the business. It is your ability, first of all, ability to actually do business, and then maybe secondly, your ability to communicate your ability of doing business to an investor. Maybe these two things matter. So we will come to that aspect later. Then this is a legal process in which we have to have a contract and a financial model. We have to value the business at certain level, and then we have to transfer the funds and go ahead. Now, मैं ये थोड़ा हिंदी में बोलूंगा, आपको ठीक लगेगा? हेलो?
Yes, sir. Is okay. Participants, if there are any questions, you can please feel free to ask.
या हमारे देश में क्या होता है कि किसी भी बिजनेस को जब पैसा चाहिए होता है तो वो किसी आदमी के पास जाता है जो ऐसे बहुत बार फाइनेंस 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 मर्जर 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 बोलता है. बिजनेसमैन को तो फाइनेंस ही नहीं आता, मर्जर तो फाइनेंस वर्ल्ड का सबसे बड़ा वर्ड है. तो उसको लगता है कि ये जो आदमी ज्यादा बार मर्जर मर्जर बोलता है यही बहुत बड़ा मर्जर का कंसल्टेंट है और पता नहीं इसका क्या क्या है. तो उसको बोलता है कि ठीक है, आप हमारे लिए इन्वेस्टर लेके आओ और हमको आप फंडिंग दे दो. तो होता ऐसा है कि वो बोलता है कि आपको अगर 100 करोड़ चाहिए तो उसके 2% 100 करोड़ आने के बाद आप मुझे कंसल्टिंग फीस बोल के दे देना. और फिर ये लोग सिंगापुर, दुबई, हांगकांग, मुंबई, दिल्ली ऐसे ट्रिप करते रहते हैं. वो बिजनेस का मालिक और ये कंसल्टेंट होटल में मिलते हैं, उसका बिल भी वो बिजनेस का मालिक ही भरता है और कुछ होता जाता नहीं. तो ये हमारे यहाँ पे अगर 10,000 क्वेरीज निकलती है एसएमएस की तो उसमें से एक ही में सक्सेस होता है. इतना जबरदस्त फेल्योर रेट है. दैट इज बिकॉज see you have limited time for interaction between the two MDs, one of the business and one of the investor. So there has to be very thoroughly prepared internal operational documentation of the company. Internal operation document. बिजनेसमैन को पता है कि वो बड़ा टॉप मार्केटर है और उसके पास बहुत सारे क्लाइंट्स है, बट व्हाट्स द यूज? आर यू गोइंग टू डिस्क्राइब थ्रू एन एसे टू द इन्वेस्टर? देयर नो. So it has to be documented. So that is one thing that there, I have told you that there are 30 departments in the company, in any company. Each of the department, there are so many types of documents. And some of the details are very critical and crucial. And these for a company, these documents run into around 370 documents. For a big company, in a small company, there might be just 100. So these documents should be ready. So if these documents are not there, then for the investor, there is no clarity of the process. Now forget the operational documents. Many companies are run by highly professional engineers who are very disciplined and they have operational documents. But look, the company is made to sell the product. The company is not made to sell the company itself. So they do not have any transaction document or an M&A document, and there has to be elaborate M&A documentation in place. Then the time frame of any strategic transaction ranges from around 4 months to 9 months because of the so many things involved. Then this I answered that, do you have an investor? So do not bother about whether you have any investor or not. There is a lot of money chasing very good opportunities. Very few good opportunities. In the market, there are very less number of opportunities. But then the opportunity should not be a 2-minute speech. The opportunity or idea needs to be taken to a particular stage of development. So what is this? First is the project conceptualization, in which you generally study the idea. Then there is project development. Then there is DPR and licenses, etc. Formation of a legal company, preparation of the feasibility study, DPR, costing, how much money is required, when, having all the CVs of the people that you can hire future. You must be so much ready to spend the money if the money is there. You cannot be ready with the money after you get the money. No, you should be ready with your own money. So you can't even start with a absolutely zero budget. But imagine that if you work on a business plan for continuously 10 years, then you can afford that money, even as a absolutely, I mean, you with even a low salary. Because 10 years is a really big plan to make a network, to make a business plan, to have financial model, to have everything in place. Just वो मतलब जाके उसमें ये करना है. Now you can see that there are so many reasons for deal failure. Uh, so the major thing is that there are people ready to invest money, but there is no communication, there is no transaction documents, there is no clarity on what is required, why it is required. There's just so many things. It will take a lot of time. You can read this. Then this is about us. Yeah. So this is about us. We are end-to-end artificial intelligence enabled equity funding and allied strategic service company. We are a fintech company, and we give all. I mean, in the large companies, there are a lot many consultants, but there are no consultants for the small companies. We are the consultants for small companies. Equity funding doesn't happen in small and medium companies. So we try our best to give the company equity funding for the companies below from 25 crore revenue to 250 crore revenue. Below it is not possible even for us. They need a little bit of more development. And then this is my own introduction. So fine. So this is our contact. Now I would like to take questions along with Shailesh. Sorry, I have run all you guys very rapidly through all this stuff. It takes a lot of time. And as a part and parcel of a business, we educate, we make the businesses aware of what is equity funding. Because many people think that the bank is the end of the world. That is not the case. There's a big world even beyond the banks, and big corporations have become large using that world. Second, there are a lot of misconceptions about the funding process, equity process. Third, there is no awareness about what is the actual process or path involved and what are the activities to be done in the equity funding. So we do a lot of education of the industry on this front. And thank you all for listening to us. Now you can ask us questions.
Participants,
Thank you very much.
if there are any questions, you can please feel free.
No questions?
So, thank you very much, Shailesh sir. I hope we will leave to the interest of the participants. And if they find anything to be asked, they can ask you on your mail IDs if you share.
Yeah, I would like each one of you, at least one participant, one question minimum. You should ask us a question. I think there is.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
So thank you very much, Shailesh sir. On behalf of Government Polytechnic Hingoli, it was a pleasure listening you. And I request Tadi Patan sir to please end up with this session and inform about the next session.
Thank you very much, Mukesh sir. Thank you very much, the team of Apohan Consultant. You have elaborated very briefly with the content and given too much knowledge to our participant regarding the fundings and strategies and entrepreneurship. Definitely, sir, we will have a physical interaction after better condition or after lockdown. And we will have to work with you in future for our student, definitely. And thanks to all participants for actively participating in every session for this particular FDP. So our next session will be after 45 minutes. We will have Dr. Ashok Upadhyay sir, the principal of Government Polytechnic Hingoli, with us, and also some of the participants need to be in discussion with this our principal. Means we are going to discuss the various issues related to entrepreneurship and student in the next session. So next session is quite interactive with our principal, Dr. Ashok Upadhyay sir. So we will meet after 45 minutes. Thank you all, and thank you once again, Mr. Shailesh sir and Arun Joshi sir. Thank you very much.